Well, thank you for joining me for a new IT Wire TV and Alex on Tech interview. It's time to welcome Kai Seymon, the 19-year-old autistic founder of Kaiko Fidgets, and his co-founder mum, Jo Seymon, with Kai having just come second in the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. Welcome, Kai and Jo.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time. Now, Kai, let's start with you. In the origin story of your business that I was reading about on your website, you explained that you were teased by others in school for using traditional fidget toys, which gave you the idea to create your own. So before we get onto that, can you please remind us what fidget toys are and why they're very helpful, not just for neurodivergent people, but for everyone, and why these toys and tools took off a few years ago in such a big way?
So, fidget tools are things that you can use to help you concentrate in what you're wanting to do or to relieve certain stresses or issues that you have. Um, so, some of those things are leg tapping, clicking a pen, hair twirling, biting your nails, biting like the sides of your fingers, like all those things are fidgeting. And fidget tools are there to help relieve those things that are harmful for your body or distracting to other people in a way that's discreet.
Yeah, and in fact, I was watching a segment you did on Channel 7, and you were talking about how some people sometimes like to cut themselves, and you had this band, which when you put on, yeah, it was made of sort of a metallic type substance, and when you turned it, you could feel it. It was hurting, but it wasn't cutting into you. And there was also something where you could pull little hairs out of some sort of a board, because otherwise people are pulling their own hairs out, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so this relieves the tension, gives you your brain, tricks your brain into doing something that's safe and not harmful.
And it also provides like a practical support that's on person or in pocket
Yeah.
that you can actually use instead of. So for us, our passion is to replace the thing that's not helpful with something as close to it, as close to the same location, but that is discreet, robust, and mimics it as close as possible.
Sure, sure. I mean, most of the fidget toys people are familiar with are the little spinners. You hold it in your hand, you spin something, and it's sort of really cool. But I mean, I've already seen you have a whole bunch of things. We'll get to those in a moment. I know you have them in your hands ready to show me. But as I noted before, Kai, you were being teased for using these fidget toys, which I assume are the original toys that people are familiar with. And of course, this teasing shows just how cruel kids can sometimes be. But can you remember the moment that you decided that you'd had enough and that you knew you had a solution to this problem?
So I had enough when a kid put wasabi in my eyes.
Ooh,
And it took probably a couple months to figure out a solution. Through trial and error of multiple different types of materials and stuff. So it wasn't more or less like I had enough of it and then had a solution straight away. It took a couple months to figure it out, but once I figured what the solution was for myself is when people started asking where I got them and started to take interest in the fidgets that I was making for myself.
Because
yeah,
originally it wasn't actually meant to be a business. It was just tools for Kai. Kai came home crying. They'd told him to go play with the preps with his toys. And this boy had rubbed wasabi in his eyes and he was devastated. So we just tried to break down, okay, well, this is what Kai's got one of the ones that he was teased for in his hands. And do you want to show? So it's a plastic, colourful thing and it's jointed.
yeah.
And so we just tried to brainstorm with Kai what's jointed. And Kai came up with the concept of, well, metal and something like a bike chain is a jointed thing, a bit similar.
Yeah.
So we Googled how to degrease bike chain, and what was the first option?
I was using like petroleum or
Yeah, something
so,
smelly like Kero or something, and it
Mm.
was like it was bad. So it was really just trial and error for Kai. We'd never expected it to end up where we are now.
Well, that was back in 2017, and here we are now in 2025 with over 700 different products at your website, kaikofidgets.com. I'll put that up on the screen so people can see. Starting at an amazing $3.95. So people can see the wide range of creative fidget toys at your site. But can you please describe some of the most popular items and what makes them different to the fidget toys that you'd find in any $2 shop, which surely these days must be at least $5 with all of this inflation?
So the difference between our products and that stuff for our our like most popular stuff is our harm minimization tools. There isn't a whole lot out there for that, and so a lot of the stuff that we do have, we've had to build up from the ground up and design, which took a lot of trial and error, and some of them took about 3 to 6 months to actually get a finalized product before we actually were able to sell it. And we purpose built each one of them for a specific needs with harm minimization. So that's one of our things, as well as our works kit, which has got 7 of our best sellers, and quite a few of them are handmade by not just us, but also people in our community, including some who are refugees who can't get a job.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, that's quite amazing. Joe, you must be so proud of Kai.
Oh,
Did you ever
yeah.
think you'd be co-founding such an inspiring company that
No,
clearly has taken the world by storm?
no, not at all. I mean, initially, when we first started taking them to little craft markets, it was really because for the first time when Kai started taking them to schools, and the bullies, instead of teasing him, actually wanted to buy them. And in fact, Kai did sell them at school, got in trouble, and had to give them their money back, which
Yeah, very, yeah, very
yeah,
annoying. Yeah,
I saw for the first time Kai's self-esteem grow. Like for the first time, he felt good about himself because academically and socially, he really struggled at school. So, and all of a sudden, this thing was giving him a sense of, I'm doing something really good. And so, we started taking him to little craft markets to sell them there because he couldn't sell them at school. And very quickly, people were giving him feedback and also asking for new things like, have you got anything for hair twirling? Have you got anything for picking? And that's actually I have an occupational therapy background, and that combined with so lots of our dinner conversations were around, emulating those even if they weren't sensory things we saw, emulating them. Like I'll often go around, like if someone says they bite the inside of their cheek, I'll sit there for hours biting the inside of my cheek, trying to work out what is the sensory input, what are the layers, what are the options, and then try and come up with something that closely emulates that.
yeah. It's a real indictment on this supposed capitalist society that we live in, that a young man who's got an idea is not allowed to sell that at school. I know that when I was a kid, we used to go to this chocolate wholesaler, and Dad would buy these, boxes of, chocolates. And for some reason, I had the brainwave, I took it to school, and I was selling it to the other kids, and I got in trouble too. I wasn't allowed to sell chocolate. Wasn't as smart an idea as Kai's. But you'd think that in this modern world, where liberty and freedom and capitalism have delivered so much goodness to the world, and you guys are a shining example of that, schools haven't got the brains to let kids involve themselves in enterprise, and instead just be part of the system that just churns out slave wages and the mediocrity that we see so much today.
100% agree. I mean, we don't even teach our kids that from around 12, you can have your own ABN and create your own business. Like the world's your oyster, and I think that's particularly important for those that think left of center. To me, I don't see a neurodistinct brain as being broken. I see it as something that's just different. Like, I've got, grey/blonde hair. Kai's got brown hair. It's just different hair. Like, it's just different brains. But school's set up for not every type of brain. And yeah, we crush kids in school often.
Yeah. I like to think that it's not left of centre when you think in a capitalist freedom way. You're thinking right of centre.
Yeah.
And I only just thought of that now as you were saying it.
Actually, I don't know left from right, so I'm good with that.
Now, Joe, just sticking with you for a moment, you say you have AUDHD, which I've never heard of before, and I was assuming it's something to do with autism as well. So can you please let us know what that means, how it affected you growing up, and whether fidget toys back when you were a child might have helped you to focus?
Oh, like absolutely. I think back to my youth. So I'm late identified, so late diagnosed. It was actually through, and this is so common, particularly for mums. They get diagnosed when you start having light bulb moments as your kids go through the journey of diagnosis and, supports. You kind of go, I connect with that. I relate to that. And it wasn't until I hit perimenopause because estrogen it drops in older life, and estrogen is really linked to dopamine production,
Hmm.
and dopamine deficiency is what someone with ADHD has. And it's not necessarily, a lot of people see ADHD as being, they kind of picture that inattentive young boy kind of mucking up and not being able to sit still. And that certainly can be a presentation, but there's so many other aspects: hyperfocus, time blindness, um, rejection sensitivity, so exquisite sensitivity to feedback. There's so many aspects that aren't necessarily. And I'm a perfectionist, but then I freeze because I can't be perfect. So therefore, so there's so many and the way that plays out in our business is we've got products that have come 2 containers ago that we've developed, and I get so overwhelmed by is it perfect that I don't know that I can put it on the website, which is just silly, but it's anyway. I'm segueing. So AU ADHD is it's just a combined way of representing that I'm autistic and ADHD.
Right. So yeah, just for the people listening, it's not just ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, but it's
Yeah.
autism and ADHD combined.
Combined.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in terms of sensory supports as a kid, we certainly didn't have tools available. But human brain is amazingly clever because the tools aren't the solution, they're just the vehicle.
Mm.
We find the solutions one way or another, whether it's hair twirling. I remember I used to destroy my rubbers and pencils. I'd chew my pencils and pick at
A lot of
my
kids do that.
and that they're actually using them as sensory supports. That's
Mm.
literally, it's not a destructive behavior. It's not like I want to destroy my rubber.
Mm.
It's I need sensory support. I'm anxious. I'm struggling to concentrate. Or it could be sometimes it's knocking the kid next to you. Sometimes it's leg tap. There's all sorts of things that we do. Pick fingers. Cutting
I
is
used to bite my nails a lot, you know.
that's a sensory support, and our mouth is the closest. So movement, it's movement that drops adrenaline and cortisol in our brain that actually helps us quieten the fright flight center. So when we're anxious, when we move, it helps us lower in anxiety. And our mouth is the closest moving joint, so we tend to go oral, whether it be eating, chewing on fingers, chewing on clothes. So the mouth is actually quite pivotal for many people as a sensory support.
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were saying that everybody knows about comfort food.
And crunchy. Often we see crunchy foods, raw carrots. Chewing gum is another one I recommend if you can tolerate chewing gum, because not everyone does.
Mm.
But chewing gum often, and it's a really accessible tool. You can kind of get your hands on it. So, you know, it's not that I'm trying to unself it. Sensory supports like we do are really purpose built. We're very focused on, and it's often not what you don't see. Like we put performance bearings, food grade silicon, and food grade stainless steel. All sorts of things go into what we do, but they're just as valid are other sensory supports like chewing gum or whatever it is, as long as it's not harming you and you feel comfortable with it. A sensory support is something that supports you in managing day to day with managing your focus and anxiety.
Kai, when you were holding up that little original toy, the one you were being teased about, it
Yeah.
looked to me like an elaborate, fancy form of silly putty. And when I went to the Questacon, because I was born in Canberra, the Questacon, they were selling silly putty. And I
Yeah.
mean, I hadn't seen it for like 30, 40 years. And I went online and I bought some. And, you just, that's the sensory thing too, because you're folding it, you're twisting it. I mean, you can bounce it. You can, if you put it on newspaper, it lifts the newspaper print, and then your beautiful brown ball gets darker and darker as you're playing with it. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's also. I mean, maybe you should have the Kai version of Silly Putty as well, because why
Look,
not? I'm assuming you don't have that,
no,
but
we
I mean,
do.
you do. Well, there you go. Wonderful, wonderful.
And we also stock Aaron's putty, which I'm sure Questacon as well. We actually supply some products into Questacon.
Okay,
They have a
awesome.
very small range of ours, but um, And also the other thing you'll like if you like putty is a thing that it's not our product, but it's called specs. They're little magnets, and it's like I call it magnetic blue
Dust
tack.
or something. Blue tack, yeah.
It's not blue tack. It's
Yeah.
like it emulates that putty or blue tack kind of rolling and fidgeting with, but it's not tacky and not gross after, a
Yeah.
minutes or hours. So
Well, I remember this would have been, I think, 4 or 5 years ago, before the pandemic, ringing Questacon and saying, "I bought Silly Putty from you, 4 decades ago. Have you got any? Do you still have it?" And they said, "No, no, we don't sell it anymore." So I looked on Amazon and I got it there. But you should remind Questacon that they used to sell it, and I mean, it's a wonderful kids' toy, and they should be selling yours.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we've introduced ours into the range. It's called Put 'em Putty,
Hmm.
and we have the ones how you were talking about the threads that pull out. We've also got ones with stones and crystals, so it really helps emulate things like pimple popping and pulling a hair out or pulling splinters out or ingrown hairs. So it's very much to emulate those. Like we've overthought, like one thread breaks like a splinter, and another one feels it's a really high grade Japanese fishing wire, and it feels like you're pulling out an ingrown hair. You've got to really forage and pull,
Right.
um, and the crystals and whatnot. We did the putty release so that you can put those things once you've pulled them out of your silicon pad. You can put them in the putty, and then you can pull them out again, or make your putty pretty. So yeah.
Now, Kai, you've just come second in a remarkable global contest, the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards, as the only Australian to make it to the final stage, and then obviously impressively come second. So, can you please share something of the experience and how it's helped you grow as a young man and global entrepreneur, able to achieve anything that you set your mind to?
Yeah, so the competition was an amazing experience. I got to meet a lot of amazing people, not just the mentors that we got, and the judges, but also the other entrepreneurs who were in the competition as well. I was the youngest in the competition. The competition was 18 to 30 years old, and had to be in uni or a terrestrial kind of schooling.
Tertiary, yeah, tertiary.
Yeah. Um, so a lot of them were a lot older than me, but I got to see some interesting businesses and how they run them as well, and had some very interesting conversations. But the whole competition itself was also very eye-opening. It was something that I've never done before, and it was really cool to experience just how um, being in a competitive space like that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you would have had inspiration and seen some other ideas. Was there anybody else that you met that was also autistic during the experience?
Not that I was aware of, but there was quite a few of people had relatives that were.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you would have been quite popular with people there.
They very much, and they were amazing at accommodating Kai's sensory needs and food requirements too. Kai has quite a limited, there's a thing called UPFID, which is avoidant food restrictive disorder, and that's where you struggle sensorily with food fairly significantly. And they were amazing at accommodating, and they had a sensory space, but they were just beautiful, like just so encouraging.
Yeah.
So, Joe, you've been with Kai on this journey, obviously, since the beginning, since before the beginning. So, you've already mentioned a few ways you've helped Kai grow the business, but how else have you helped him grow the business, which now employs every single member of your family in catering to what must be an ever-growing, staggering demand?
Yeah, and we've got a team of staff also, which has been incredible. I mean, I guess it's just been organic. It was kind of, what do they say? Actually, there's a beautiful quote, and I'm not going to do it well. It's like build the plane while build the plane while you're flying.
Flying, yeah, yeah, yeah. Build it and they will come. Repair the engine of a plane whilst it's still in flight.
Yeah, that's kind of, that's probably the best way to describe how it's been. So when we saw Kai really come to life at markets and selling, we both Mike and I don't have business skills. We're quite creative in thinking, and certainly I've got a clinical background, but Spreadsheets. I say I'm anaphylactic too. You've experienced this morning how non-tech I am. And so we enrolled, we didn't even know how to start a business or a website. So we enrolled Kai in a kids business mentoring program, which was a 12-month program. And we did it alongside him so that we could learn at a fairly basic level, registering a domain name and setting up a website and how do you work even how to price something. And so we did that for 12 months with Kai, which was a game changer. And then it was just about recognizing this is outside our skill base. We need to look at who else do we need to bring in to help. So we've got graphic designers, we've got an amazing web team, we've got a marketing team, we've even recently put on a CEO, which has been amazing support and help because he's got the skills that are required that we don't.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, if you've grown to that level and you need that professional help, I mean, it's all out there. You just have to be able to afford it, and if you can, nothing stops you. Now, Kai, I'll start with you.
That's the hardest bit in a business. The bigger we've grown, the harder that's become.
Yeah.
But again, back ourselves to, we're way more purpose driven than we are about, making millions. So we're good.
Yeah. Well, if you're doing something you love and doing something that really changes people's lives and helps them in ways that they haven't been helped before, the money is just a side effect. I mean, it's there because you're delivering a service that people want. And I loved how you said purpose driven. You're acting with intention. It's not just some lucky break that you're riding some wave. You guys have been paddling along and getting other people along with you, and it's clear to see that it's resonated with so many people, and it's a big success.
Yeah.
Now, Kai, I'll start with you, but Joe, I'll ask you the same question. Kai, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in growing the business?
Well, because I'm still like doing school, so working and also doing school as well, being able to like balance that and also having time to like hang out with friends on the weekends and stuff has been a bit of an issue. That's probably been the hardest thing with the business for me.
I
Um,
think I think that's called a good problem to have.
yeah,
And for me, it's been, look, probably from a technical basis is been, and I'm not very good at asking for help, so I've just tried to hack at it and do it all myself with Kai and his dad, and I'm not very good at boundaries with myself, and I'm still not, so I haven't nailed that. I work, yeah, stupid hours, but and to our hearts are when we've shielded Kai from the social aspects because he's been a kid, he shouldn't have to deal with, but as the person that's interfacing with customers on email and phone calls, we get daily several, requests for, what would you suggest for this? And we don't cookie cutter that. We very much spend time to deep dive and help them specifically. So it's both a privilege and probably been the biggest challenge to how do I actually balance that and actually still front up as a mom, a daughter, a wife, and not nailing it, but still
Well,
a challenge.
it's a journey. It's not a
Yeah.
destination. Yeah. Now, you've sort of partly answered this before about being at the markets and having people ask you for things and just yourself just then talking to people and they want advice. But, customers are obviously a great source of knowledge. They have pain points and clearly they're an integral part of any research and development effort. So what products have your customers asked you to create that you've then delivered? I mean, just, some examples.
so there's a few. One of our major ones are the harm minimization tools that we have.
Hmm.
Um, Quite a few of them are like built based off of customer feedback, like this one.
Hmm.
The
And so
spy key.
what is it again?
It's called the spy key ring.
Hmm.
And it has two paddles.
Yep.
One's soft and one's
I don't know if
firm.
you'll be able to see this, but
Yeah,
I'm
but yeah,
that.
yeah,
Can you see my hands
yeah.
now? Got dim. It really hurts. It's kind of like a Shakti mat, and the other side's more a picking support.
Um, and another tool that we have developed based off of the customer's feedback, and we actually had the customer help us make it, is a bookmark with a being able to be attached to it.
So Isla email, I got a little email from Isla, who was, I think, 9 or 10 at the time. Dear Kaiko, I love to read and I love to fidget while I'm reading. Could you make a bookmark that I can click my fidgets to? And we emailed Isla back and said, could you send us a picture of what you have in mind? So she actually created a bookmark out of cardboard, sent us a picture and tied one of our fidgets to it. And that took us on a journey over about, it was probably 14 months
Wow.
of sending off for CAD drawings, sending the prototypes to Isla, getting her feedback. Kai suggested putting a dyslexic reading pane in the middle of it for focus.
Hmm.
And it's now one of our product ranges. And Isla is our youngest product developer.
There you go. She's now part of the business.
And we love it. She actually, when we were in a Sydney event, she actually took the time to come up for 5 hours on a train to meet Kai and like to meet us actually at the person and give us a hug. And so it's family. Like everyone becomes, it's really personal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're touching the minds and hearts of people. They're not just consumers that buy stuff from some big department store. I mean, you're changing their lives for the better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best bit about the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's not selling junk food. This is wholesome mind food. Now, Kai, your name KAI has the letters AI in it, which makes me think: have you been playing with AI and seeing if it has any suggestions to create even more fidget toys that has surprised even you?
I've looked at it a little bit, but not like heavily yet. I do plan on doing that like soon. Um, but at the moment, there are quite a few things that I've been focusing on more on than that kind
Yeah.
of area of stuff. But yeah, I have had a bit of a play around with AI currently. Yeah.
I mean, I would simply say there that whether it's Grok or ChatGPT or any of the different AI tools, you can describe what it is that you want to see, and then it will create it. And if you're not happy with it, you can ask it to modify the image that's created. So, that young lady could have, aside from making it herself, which is obviously the best way, she could have also asked AI. But you might also show, like with Gemini, you can now show it something, and
Wow.
you can ask it what it is, see if it knows what it is for a start, and then you can say to it, well, this is a fidget toy. How do you suggest that I might be able to modify this? I mean, it's all I'm saying is it's worth playing
Yeah,
with
I
it and asking it questions.
honestly had not even given it a thought. I
Yeah,
actually am really excited about that. I'm not overly techie, but I have danced with Chat GBT to for coming up with names because it's a bit, because we do develop so many tools, a lot of our names are a bit similar because that's actually not our wheelhouse. And it's actually helped with quite a number of our names, but I'd not even thought to do that. So we'll definitely have a play with that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing you can do is you can show it a picture of something. Google has a tool where you can have a photo and you can ask it to make a video based on what you've shown it. And I think it can do it up to 60 seconds. And now you can obviously merge various 60 seconds slots together. So anyway, just some ideas. You can play with it, and when you've got time, free time, from doing all the product development and schooling and everything else you have to do, but worth a shot. I mean, it's free to try it out. So yeah, may as well. Now, Kai, what advice do you have for young people like yourself, whether they've got autism or not, but especially those with neurodivergent realities, wanting to bring their passions to life and turn them into a global business?
Failure doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Sometimes it takes a few attempts for something to stick, and sometimes you just got to look at why it didn't work and change what you think's the issue, and then it's a matter of just trial and error. Eventually, it will work just as long as you keep going at it and you enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it took 14 months to create the bookmark with the fidget toy, and then you had the brainwave to put the dyslexia window in there. I mean,
Yeah.
incredible. And Joe, over to you. What advice do you have for parents to guide their children into following their dreams?
For me, it would be definitely lean into a passion. So if they're passionate like yourself about Star Wars, brainstorm ways that things can come to market. Like it could be stickers, it could be a blog on Star Wars figures, it could be no, I'm not going to say Star Wars fidget because that'll be copyrighted and licensed, but or it could be as a collector, or it could be there's a whole range of ways you can actually lean into a passion, because if you're passionate about it, you're likely to continue. And the other thing, like kids are their own experts, and as parents, we're equipped to, or we're meant to equip them and guide them, but trust, like listen to their heart. They are wonderfully wired exactly how they're meant to be, and don't necessarily hang everything on school. Particularly, I find time and time again, both as a mum and those, like, school can be really unhelpful for mental health for many. Listen to your kids and try and make sure that the most important thing is that they exit with intact self-esteem and mental health. And I think that comes above anything academic. That might not be a popular opinion, but that's, the rest can come. But having a human that actually is kind and feels good about themselves, and teach skills, lean into passions.
And look, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of people, as I've been growing up, who were never big fans of school, were able to thrive despite school. There's a huge homeschooling movement in the US and in Australia. I mean, we also heard the horrible tragedy of the man who was abusing children in childcare, and we've seen that in old age homes where there's a secret camera put in by the concerned children of the parents, and the nurses or whatever where I've been abusing the older people. So, the mother keeps the babies under their wing. If I can afford it, when I have kids, I'm going to homeschool them, as much as I possibly can, because the only one who really cares about your children is you. And the government wanting to take charge of your kids, they can get stuffed, but that's all by the by. So, now to both of you, and whoever wants to go first, please go for it. But how do you see the fidget tool space evolving? How do you think the market and the industry will evolve by 2030?
I think that more people will be okay with using fidgets, because one of the biggest issues currently, not necessarily in Australia or in America, but in a lot of, like, in Asia and in other countries, the Middle East especially as well, there's a bit of a stigma around people with disabilities, where, especially around also fidgets as well, where they don't tend to like talking about it. And so, because they don't talk about it, they don't it doesn't really exist in those countries. I definitely see by around that time that there's more talks about fidgets and how helpful they are, especially in those countries as well as in Australia.
Yeah, I think you answered that perfectly. For me, it's very much about having tools that support people in their everyday life, that are age appropriate, suitable, but also help people feel not broken. Like it's not because you have a disability. Your brain's intentionally seeking a tool, and that's true of most of us. Not neurodivergent, neurotypical, however you want to frame it. Our brains are very clever, and they seek sensory input to help regulate. It's called stimming, and it's stimulatory behavior to help with regulation. And it can come in a whole range of ways. It can be vocal, vibration, fidgeting, like a whole range of ways. So, I just hope there's, literally what you said, acceptance. We hope that people are a lot more accepting and open. And we certainly have no problem having, delicate, direct conversations confidentially or otherwise with, I'm the first to I'm constantly being told I overshare, but do you know what? If that helps one person feel less broken, I'm good with that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm 1/4 Chinese myself, so I, have Asian relatives, and In Asian countries, they have this concept of saving face. They'd rather keep something quiet rather than admit it. And I mean, if you look at someone like Dr. Stephen Hawking, I mean, once he got his condition, I mean, he was lucky to be alive in an era where they had the voice to text computers. I mean, nowadays your iPhone can do it. It can preserve your voice if you're having a stroke or something else that changes what your voice is like. So the modern technology can do incredible things. But in some of these societies, they're just going to have to realize that people have value, and you just got to find out what that value is and bring it out of them. And I mean, also talking about stimming, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the Ben Affleck movie, The Accountant, and then The Accountant 2, but he would blow on his fingers before he does something. And I mean, he was autistic in that particular movie and trained, to be a top secret agent, super, killer type guy by his military father. But I mean, they had a whole a brain, I forget, it was Harbour Science, I think it was called. It was an institute for people who had neurodivergent issues, and they'd like to finish what they start. And we're seeing more acceptance of this even through things like these Hollywood movies. And for those wondering, I did read there will be an Accountant 3 at some point, which I think is very cool. So it's good to see, and you guys are helping to break those barriers down. And obviously Asia's a huge market, so I wish you the best of success there.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Now, Kai, I always like to ask if you could please share a memory of your first personal computer, and then or computing experience. But these days you're young enough that when I got my first computer, it was 1979, before the IBM PC. They were very expensive, but obviously in the last 20, 30 years they've been much more popular. So what's a memory that you can share of your first personal computer or experience? And then Joe, we'll come to you.
My first time using a computer was when I played Minecraft at a summer camp, and I played Minecraft for 6 hours in the day.
You were hooked, like a lot of kids today, right? Do you still play it today?
Yeah, I'm more on console though.
Yeah.
So I'm not on PC. I'm more on like the console
Yeah.
sort of games.
Yeah. Well, the console is so much easier than a PC. PCs can get viruses, drivers can crash.
Yeah.
There can be all these endless problems. That's why I'm a Mac user these days, because you just don't have those problems. But yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
And Joe, what's your memory of your first computer?
Me, I just remember being in year 7. So year 7 was when they introduced computers to school, and it was a green screen, and you had to do like basic, was it dot? I can't remember all those.
Well, DOS was the operating system, but I mean, was it the Apple, or was it like a PC? Do you
I think
remember?
is there a thing before that? I feel like I'm 53, so I'm old.
Well, I'm 50, so the first computers that really took off in schools was the Apple II, and it had a green screen, and you had Karateka and the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and all those sorts of cool
We didn't have
games.
it like that. We had to enter like code. It was code.
Yeah, no, you did that on the Apple as well. Yeah, but
I'm
yeah,
still not good with computers, so I just remember being overwhelmed with it then in year 7, and still being overwhelmed at 53.
So my second last question is if you could please each share some great advice that you've received in life to help you get where you are today. Kai, we'll start with you, and then over to you, Joe.
Again, similar to what I was sort of saying earlier, probably one of the best advice that I've been given was probably that you can do anything that you put your mind to as long as you have the drive to do it, and you can make anything successful as long as you continue to keep going at it.
Yeah.
For me, this is actually what I literally live by. It's business life in general. When I was 18, I did a defensive driving course before I was allowed. My dad would let me have a car.
Very smart.
And so this is actually not an analogy, but it became an analogy I've lived by my entire life. And that the driver instructor explained that if you're out of control and you're heading towards something in a car and you're going to hit it, human nature is that we tend to look at what we're going to hit in fear. And the thing is, your hands will follow your eyes. So you'll have the best chance of hitting it if you look at something, your hands will follow and you'll hit it. So he said what you have to do in a near accident situation is you have to against human nature. You have to look where you want to go instead of the problem, and you've got your best chance. Your hands will follow. You still may hit the tree, but you've got your best chance of not hitting the tree. And for me, that, like, there was this light bulb moment. That's kind of like life. If you focus on all the things that you're mucking up, all the bad things, all the negative things, that's what you smash into. Whereas if you can try, and so I tend to not look in the review, like, we muck up all the time. We make errors with products. I stuff up parenting daily, hourly, like, we don't get things right lots of times in any given day. I don't try and focus on those. I try and focus on where I want to go. How can I improve? What can we do differently? And I think that's a very long-winded answer to your question. Sorry.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, if you don't have a direction, you can take any road, and you'll get there. If you've got if you begin with the end in mind, if you've,
Yeah.
you know where you want to go in that direction. If obstacles pop up, then they're not problems; they're challenges to overcome. And it's
Yeah.
all about changing. It's not just your perception, but you've got to change your perspective.
Yeah.
And that's excellent advice on how to do that.
Yeah, and I really like the words. I remember Kai going through school and a teacher saying, when he'd say, "I'm not good at that," or "I can't do that," and she always used to inject the word "yet," and I also love that. Just, and for ourselves, yet, and
Yeah.
it changes things for us.
Yeah, it does. It's not something that's final and never to be overcome. It's looking that you are going to overcome it. I think I heard the story about Einstein, and I could be getting it wrong, but the story is still a good story, where he wasn't very good at math, and of course Einstein is one of the greatest mathematicians and scientific brains, and the teacher was able to change his perspective to say, well, look, that's not just some mathematical problem to be solved. You've got to look at it like you're a detective trying to solve the mystery, and try and find out, all the different parts of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And when he changed his perspective to that, took off. I mean, he gamified it for him, and without knowing probably what gamification was 100 years ago or however long it was. But he changed his perspective, and of course, we now know that E equals MC squared. So again, to each of you, what is your final message to those who are reading, watching, and listening?
That there's needs for anything, that, like, there are always things out there that, if you need help with, exist, and if they don't, that you can develop yourself. Like, that's how I started Kaiko Fidgets, if that's something that you're wanting to do. Um, but if you fidget, there are definitely fidgets out there that you can find that can help you in anything that you need help with.
Yeah, yeah. I guess for me, it's I think often when we're different, we feel less than. It's all broken. It is not less. It's just different. And find your tribe too. Find people that get, less and less. I have people in my world that just don't understand how we're wired, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly been wonderful speaking with you both today. Congratulations, Kai, on your amazing success. And Joe, congratulations to you and your husband for raising such an upstanding young man. The website is kaikofidgets.com, and I do hope to speak with you both again in the future. Thank you both very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Alex.
Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.